A fateful day, of course. We raised nearly £2,000 that night for the Children's Fund that was sent straight over to Rashir. And that's really important work that we do. I want to bring the greetings of our Trade Union Council and the trade union movement to this rally today. It's really, really important that working people stand together for justice, stand together for Palestine. And I'm very proud of the role that my union, the University and Colleges Union, has played over the years in supporting the cause of the Palestinian people. We as a union of academics and teachers in colleges and schools have a policy of boycotting all Israeli academic institutions. And we're proud of that policy. Part of the really important boycott, divestment and sanctions. And when we did that and passed that policy at our union conference many years ago, they came for us. John Mann, the former Labour MP, you'll know him now, he works for the Tory government, launched a legal suit against our union to try and sue us for taking a principled stand on Palestine. We saw him off in the courts, and our union continues to support the cause of the Palestinian people. Really, really important to do. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, the anger and the despair and the rage is what consumes me day and night. I'm sorry, it does. The absolute horror of what we are seeing. The great revolutionary leader, Che Guevara, many, many years ago, at the time of the Vietnam War, when the people of Vietnam were being bombed by the imperialists, said, if you shake with indignation at every injustice, then you're a comrade of mine. And I shake with indignation. We all shake with indignation at what is being meted on the people of Gaza and of Palestine. And that anger that we have, and also that love in our hearts for the people of Palestine. The fact we are Palestinians, that in our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. That is a really important part of what we do, but we also have to think and know, don't we? We have to know our history, know what the State of Israel represents, and understand it in order to know what to do to build a movement for solidarity for Palestine. And sometimes, if you want to understand what the State of Israel's about, you need to listen to some of their leaders. And I was a historian when I was a teacher, and I'll tell you a little story. So, in the spring of 1956, that's only 8 years after the Nakba, a group of Palestinian resistance fighters crossed the border from Gaza into southern Israel. At that time, the border was just a ditch. They crossed the border and they attacked an Israeli settlement, a kibbutz. In fact, a kibbutz that was attacked 3 weeks ago today. And in the attack, they killed an Israeli guard at the kibbutz. They then went back into Gaza. Now it just happened, coincidentally, that the then Chief of Staff of the Israeli Defense Force, a man who, those of you of my generation and older might remember this name, he was called Moshe Dayan. People remember the 1967 war. He was the great hero, wasn't he, of the IDF. He was a poster boy for Israeli Zionism on all the newspapers in Britain and around the West as the man who beat the Arab states and proved at that time the worth of Israel to America. He proved the worth of Israel as America's watchdog and bully boy in the region. That's what the 60s... Anyway, Moshe Dayan happened to be in the kibbutz, and he was asked to give a eulogy at the funeral that took place the following day of the Israeli who had been killed. And in his speech he said this: why should we complain of their hatred for us? 8 years they sat in the refugee camps of Gaza and saw in front of their eyes how we turned the lands and the villages in which they and their forefathers once dwelled into our homeland. And he spoke the truth, didn't he? He spoke the truth. He didn't, however, go on to say, therefore we should do the right thing, allow Palestinians a right to return, free Palestinians from their oppression. No, he said this. He said these words. He said, "This means we have to prepare ourselves for a permanent and bitter war." Israel had to prepare themselves for a permanent and bitter war. And it has been, hasn't it? A permanent and bitter war against the people of Palestine. And we're seeing it now in its horrendous, horrendous form in what is being meted on the people of Gaza. And that's why I agree absolutely with our Yemeni comrade who spoke earlier, who said, if you want to stop the resistance, you stop the occupation. And occupied people have the right to resist. An illegal occupation, a bloody occupation, has the right, and the Palestinians do resist. They resist in many, many forms. They resist by marching in their masses to the border fence to be slaughtered and shot down by the IDF. They resist on the West Bank. They resist in civil society. They resist in many, many ways. And we have to be part of supporting that resistance with our solidarity here. The things we do here matter. The small things we do matter. I said I was a member of UCU. My friend and comrade Harry, who's a branch officer at Chesterfield branch of UCU, can't be here today because he's doing a small little thing. He's walking the distance today on a sponsored walk of the perimeter of Gaza. He's walking the distance of the perimeter of Gaza to raise money for Palestinian children. Those little acts of resistance and solidarity are important things we do. The things we do, being here today matters. Raising our voices matter. And I want to say particular tribute to the brave, brave people who climbed that town hall 2.5 weeks ago. Because every action we take has an impact. And I believe that action had a really important impact. Because think about it, at the time, you remember, the government was saying the Israeli flag should be flown on every public building. That's what they wanted to do, didn't they? If you remember, there was due to be, and there was, an England football international later that week at Wembley. They said we want the Wembley Archers lit up in the Israeli flag. After those brave brothers climbed up there and took down the flag, they backed off from that, didn't they? They understood that our movement won't allow that. But we have to build and sustain our movement. Everything we do is important. So absolute praise to people for being here today, out on the streets once again. We're a small town, Chesterfield. We had a very good little protest earlier this week. Next Saturday, we're doing what you're doing this Saturday. We're going to be on the streets of Chesterfield in a protest march and rally in support. People do come across and join us if you want to, but that's what we'll be doing. Building the movement is really important. So once again, free, free!